You'll need to collect a few supplies to work with discharge paste. The first thing you'll need is the discharge paste. You can see here that this is a Discharge brand paste. It's essentially a thickened bleach. And the reason we use this is that because it is thicker, it's just easier to handle and easier to use for our purposes. So once you have the paste, you're also going to need some dark colored natural fabrics. So you see here, I've got quite a variety. On the top is a cotton lycra knit. The brown is a wool knit. The center one is a black cotton. The one right below that is a blue cotton twill. And then finally at the bottom, I have a cotton fabric that I have tie-dyed using acid dyes. You'll also need something to apply the discharge paste. So you can use paintbrushes, you can use a stamp from a local craft store, you can create your own stamps using a speedball stamp pad, you can create stencils with a blue stencil film, or you can even apply it using a screen. You'll also want to protect yourself and your clothing when you're using the paste, so make sure that you have an apron, you have some gloves to protect your skin, and a mask to wear when you're ironing the paste. And this is because it creates some fumes when you add heat, so just to protect yourself, always have a dust mask handy. To set up your workspace, you'll need a foam core board, and this is just to help contain all of the chemicals when you're working with them to avoid cross-contamination of your projects. It also helps a lot when your fabric needs to dry. You can easily move it to another place outside of your workspace. You'll need some push pins to hold your fabric into place. You'll also need a hair dryer to expedite the drying process, and you'll need an iron and an ironing board. You'll also want a couple scrap pieces of fabric, and this is just so that you can avoid getting any chemicals on your iron. Now before we start using the discharge paste, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your hands are covered. So put on some plastic gloves. The next thing we'll do is attach these little pieces of fabric to the foam core board using some push pins. Okay, now I have all of the pieces of fabric secured, and I've got a pretty wide variety here, and this is just so I can show you how different colors react to the discharge paste differently. And even if you were to find a black on another fabric, it could react completely differently than the one I'm about to show you. So always make sure you do a small test like this before you get into a larger project. So I've got my discharge paste here. You can work directly out of the bottle, or you can pour some into a little cup. I'm going to work right out of the bottle because I'm going to apply it mostly with paint brushes. I'm also going to do a couple stamps as well, so I'll show you how to apply that. But for now, I'm going to start painting some of these with the paintbrush. And I'm going to go to create sort of a veiny look on here, so I'm going to use a couple different sized paintbrushes. So I'm going to get started on that. Dip your paintbrush into the discharge paste as if it were regular paint, and then just draw it on, or paint it on rather. So the next thing we want to do is we want to allow this to dry. So you can either let it dry naturally, overnight even, or grab a hair dryer and we'll try and expedite the process. So now that the discharge paste is dried on all of these samples, I'm going to remove them from the foam core board and get ready to iron. So my iron is all heated up. I'm going to put on my dust mask just to protect myself from the fumes. And with my extra piece of fabric here, I am going to place the samples in here. So this is the navy twill. Place the samples in between the muslin here, and this is just to protect my iron. And then I'm going to start ironing. And this is the black cotton. So that got pretty light. Could keep going to see if I could get it any lighter than this, but I'm not sure that I will. So when you're doing your test, you can try and go for a little bit longer period of time, but I just want to move on so I can show you some of these other samples.